Hi, David here with the Handyman channel. We've got some interesting things for you. Today, we've got a dryer repair. It's a gas Whirlpool dryer, and it stopped heating. The drum would still spin, but no heat. Check it out. All right, so I'm working on this dryer here. It's a Whirlpool gas dryer. It stopped heating. So took out the two screws for the, you take out the lid filter right here. I'll show you. Take out this one, has the lid filter, you take it out. And there's two screws right here that come out. Got those out. And then you can put a flat blade in here, push it against this tab and release it here and here, and this guy opens up. It's good to have it unplugged. I'm gonna unplug it. There we go. And then there are a couple of screws in here. You take these two screws out, and then you disconnect which I already took those two screws out. Disconnect this little connector for the door switch. It's I'll show you. So these are the screws I took out from the inside. There's one here and one here, and then this little guy. It's these are the stupidest connectors ever. You have to put like a flat blade or something in here to pry this, because there's a little tab right here and here, and then you pry it apart. But you have to be careful because you can easily stab yourself with the screwdriver. If you use a putty knife, it's better, less likely to get injured. We're going to take that off, and then we're going to open this up and show you inside here. Be back in a minute. Okay, so I got this disconnected. Now, once you have the two screws out here, and you disconnect that connector, then you can just pull this front right off, okay? And you lift up the bottom. Has these little latches. There's a latch there and a latch there. It's just like a little hook that this guy hooks onto right there. Anyways, get that out of the way. Okay, now we can see. Money. Got some money in there. All right. Now, the drum, it just sits in there. It's got a belt that goes around the motor and the idler pulley. You've got this, that tensioner there. Comes around, and so in order to get good access in here, we just pull the belt off. We disconnect this tensioner here, take off the pressure, and we'll put the phone down. Off. Okay. And now we can take the bolt out. Now we can see what's going on in here. By the way, this tensioner, you see these slots, there's two. You want to have it, when you put it back in, it's got these little tabs on it. And the way it goes is, that tab goes in there, and that goes there. You want it to go the right way, so it tensions properly, but also you want to put it in the right slot. This one's lined up with the motor pulley. All right, you don't want it in here. That won't work. All right, I think with this guy, what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna plug it back in, but I'm gonna have to jumper out this switch. I can probably just hook the door switch back up to the front door. I'll just swing the front panel out away. This way I can turn this on and see what's going on. Basically, this burner is not firing, okay? And I think that's usually it is either the igniter, which is inside here, this guy, or one of these solenoids. One kicks on to give energy to the igniter, and the other one holds it, keeps it on. And then the gas is released through this gas valve right here into the chamber, and it ignites, creating a flame which heats up and goes through. And then the fan, there's a fan on the back side of this motor which circulates the air. It blows through here, the hot air comes out here, and it gets circulated, and the fan sucks the air in there, and that's where your filter screen goes down in this slot, and so the air gets sucked in and it hits that filter screen and it gets the dust out. All right, so I'm gonna hook up a jumper here and we'll test it. Okay, I've got this. What I did was I hooked up the switch back to the front panel. I just have the front panel kind of swung out of the way here, and I went ahead and plugged it back in. And one thing I didn't mention is, good idea is wear some gloves when you take these things apart, because it's made out of sheet metal, and these are a lot of really sharp edges. It's easy to get cut on this stuff, so good idea to do that. So what I'm going to do now is I've got it plugged in, got this door switch jumper or connected up, and the door's closed, and I'm going to turn it on. Okay. For heat, high heat, and start it. Okay, motor's running, so we know that's working. Right now, what should be happening is there's an igniter in there, and it should be glowing. It's like this one's style is a glow bar. There's another style that's like a spark unit. This one's a glow bar. And so electricity flows through wires here, and it should be heating up. There's a rod in here, a glow bar that heats up, and once it gets to a certain amperage level, then it will open this valve and allow gas to flow, and that will ignite. Obviously it's not glowing, so either the igniter is failed, or possibly even the timer is not allowing voltage to this. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to disconnect this connector here. I'm going to unplug it, turn it off, unplug it, disconnect this connector, and I'm going to ohm out these two wires with an ohm meter on a meter, and I should have very low resistance or continuity. If it's open or there's no continuity, that means the igniter's bad. So we're going to check that. Okay. I'm going to check the continuity of the meter here, of the igniter. Got my meter set to ohms, and test it again here. Yep, that's working. And check these two pins. And I have 95.7 ohms, which is, it's not like, 0 or 2 or 3 ohms. But it is very low resistance, which is basically that's good. That's got a good connection there. So I should have, the glow bar should be working, the igniter should be working when I apply voltage. So probably not getting voltage here. Let's find out why. All right, we're going to check to see if we have voltage. So what I've done is I just went ahead and plugged my meter in here. Just usually in electrical, dryers and appliances and things like that, the black is hot, just like in your house. Black is hot, white is neutral. It's not always the case, but in this case, we know one's going to be hot, one's going to be neutral. So I'm just plugging my meter in here, red to black and black to white. It won't really matter in this case. But anyway, so I'm plugging that in. I've got my meter set to volts AC, and I'm gonna plug in the dryer and turn it on, and we're gonna see what we get. Yeah, there's no voltage going to the igniter, so now we got to find what's going on, where are we losing the voltage. Let's find that out. Okay, we're looking at the schematic for this dryer. It does have two sections. One is the electric section if you have an electric dryer, and then this one for the gas. So I'm looking at here is this side. We've got the igniter is right there, and it shows one side of the igniter is hooked to here, which comes across. Got a flame sensor here, which we can check, but our power needs to go through. Basically, it's coming from this side. So we've got here, you've got the black side, which is L1, that's power. It's going to come through over here through a thermal fuse, operating thermostat, cutoff, non-resettable, another thermal fuse, heat switch, timer switch. So we've got a bunch of things in between here. And then it goes through the coils to turn on the igniter. It's got what's called the hold and the assist coils. And then this other side over here comes from the neutral side, which goes up here, and you can see it connects to neutral. That completes the circuit. So we have quite a few things to check in between here. I think what makes the most sense to check first is these thermal fuses, because those tend to blow if the dryer gets overheated. If your thermostat's not working properly, it's causing it to run too hot. If your exhaust vent gets obstructed or clogged, then it can blow these thermal fuses. So that's going to be the first thing we check. And to do that, we're going to come to the back of the dryer. I'm going to take off this cover, and that's where most of these are. Okay, so we're back here. I'm looking at the wiring diagram to try and identify which is which. We have the igniter here, comes across, goes through this coil. The other side of that is a blue wire, which connects to this thermal fuse, non-resettable. The other side is red. So we're looking for a connector back here that has a blue wire on one side and a red on the other. And we can go down here and see that one. Yeah, so we have a blue and a red right here. So that's the thermal fuse on the heat output, the blower output, and that guy is the thing that will blow first if it overheats. So I disconnected a wire because you don't want to check a component while it's in the circuit. You want to take it out of the circuit. I've got my meter set to continuity or ohms, and I'm going to go ahead and check this guy. Yep, beeping, got continuity. So that means it's good. That's a good thermal fuse. It did not blow. Now, that's the blue side. The other side is red. We're going to follow the red wire. It's coming up here, looping back, coming back down, and it's going to the thermostat. That's the operating thermostat. One side in is red, and it has a couple more connectors, but the output side is the red with the white wire. Let's check here. So we had the thermal fuse we checked with the blue on one side, red on the other. The other side of that connected to the operating thermostat, where we just followed that red wire. And the other side of it is the red-white. So let's check this thermostat. We're gonna, again, unplug one side here. If I can get it. All right. Disconnect one side, okay. Now we're gonna check this from this red wire to where the red-white connects. Yep, we have continuity there. Okay, so that guy is good. So I'm going to reconnect this. Okay, and we're going to follow it down the line here. So we know this thermal fuse is good. We know this operating thermostat is good. Next, the red-white goes to a cutoff, thermal cutoff, non-resettable. So a red-white on one side, and then I don't know, it doesn't label it here, but we follow this red white up. It's coming up this here, and oh, there it is. And I have it disconnected because I've already been here. But it comes to this. I'll put it back on just for a minute. It comes to this, which is the thermal cutoff, okay? And then there's also a high limit thermostat right next to it. So this is the thermal cutoff, and then this is the high limit. These are wired in series, so basically the electricity has to go through both of them. If either one of them is open, it's not going to work. So let's disconnect this again. We're going to check both of these. I'm going to disconnect both. Okay, so let's check the bottom first. And yep, that's good. Got continuity. Okay, let's check the top one. And that is not good. Yeah, it's open. Yeah, that guy is open. So that is a culprit right here. Not sure exactly why it blew. It could have been from overheating, or it could have been just fatigue over time. So I'm gonna go ahead and change that, and we're gonna try this dryer again. Okay, so I have changed out the thermal cutoff fuse, and we're going to run it and see how she goes. There are really two main reasons why this would fail. One is overheating. If this thing is too hot for too long at this vent here, it'll blow that fuse. And the other would be if the cycling thermostat runs it too hot. Like if this thermostat fails in a way that it runs the temperature too hot for too long, it will cause that to blow. So that is a possible culprit here as well. But considering these are so inexpensive, in this situation, I'm just going to run it and test it. And if it runs good for a little while, probably over a day or a few days, then it'll probably be fine. If it does end up blowing again, then I'll end up changing out this cycling thermostat. But these parts are relatively inexpensive, so, and I've got time. Alrighty. Okay, I hooked the exhaust vent back up, plugged it back in, and now we're going to test it. So I'm going to go ahead and put this guy on timed high heat. Make sure everything's okay here. I've got my switch connected again, and everything is clear. Here we go. Sure enough, the igniter is glowing. See it in there. And there's the flame. So it glowed, had enough amperage to open the valve, and gas flowed, and now we got a flame. So I'm going to run this and test it just to make sure. Like I said, that could have been, stop this, it's getting a little noisy. That switch, thermal cutoff switch, could have blown because it was fatigued over time, or it could have blown, let's get back on here, right there. It could have blown because of age, or it could have blown because of that operating thermostat back there. And the only way we're going to know, I mean, I could just go ahead and change the operating thermostat out just to kind of cover the bases, but in this situation, it doesn't make a lot of difference. There's flexibility and time available, so I'm just going to run it. And if it runs good, then we're in good shape. If not, if it blows again, then I'll have to replace that operating thermostat and the thermal cutout again. But I think we're going to be in good shape here. Okay, I'm about to put this back together. I did put the cover on the back and hooked up the exhaust hose again. But before I put it back together, I want to check a couple things. Anytime you're inside of a dryer, you want to make sure there's not a whole bunch of lint and dust, because obviously that would be a fire hazard. This one's pretty clean. The other things you want to check is the rollers to make sure they spin nice and free. That one's not too bad. This one, not so much. It's kind of sticky. So I'm going to pop the plastic ring off of here, slide the roller off, clean up the shaft, clean up the inside of the roller, and then if I have to, I'll use some emery cloth on the shaft to kind of buff it out and then wipe it down. And this one I think is okay. I may pop that off and clean it up since I'm in here. The other thing is make sure the motor spins freely. It does. The idler, same thing, you want to make sure that that spins freely. And it's not bad. Probably just clean it up, blow the dust out of it. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll get ready to put it back together. Okay, I've got the rollers and shafts cleaned up, so now they spin nice and free. All right. And I cleaned up the idler. I just kind of wiped out the inside a little bit. So that's all set. And the belt, you want to check on your drum belt. You want to just check to make sure there's no cracks. You know, this one's pretty good shape. It doesn't have any cracks or anything. It looks to be decent. So I'm going to reuse that. That's fine. I think we're in good shape. We're going to put it back together here. Okay, I got the drum in. I'm going to try and record my hooking this belt up. I'm not sure if this is going to work. It's a little tricky to get these belts, but you can hold the drum up with your shoulder or your head and then lift up on the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and put this idler back in place. And then the belt goes kind of under the idler roller. The top of the belt goes under the idler. And then it comes through the center of the idler in the gap between the roller and the idler. And the light just went out. A lot of times you do this by feel. And I'm just going to pull this belt around the pulley of the motor and then just take this tension off and make sure it's centered so the grooves line up on the pulley. And we should be in good shape. So we can get the light back on. I think we're in good shape there. Let's take a peek here. Yeah, looks good. So then I'm going to spin it and make sure it spins properly. Put this back again. And see. You want to go counterclockwise, I think it is. If you go clockwise, you can actually get the belt to pop off. You don't want to do that. Okay, there's that. Now, put this front back on. The little slots on the front cover hook into those little hooks on the side cabinet frame. And now we can hook the screws in. Plug in the door switch again. And take the screws here. Bring the top down. And let's try it again. These gas dryers have a nifty little thing. You can pop off this, a lot of them, you can pop off this little cover. Peek in here. And it lets you see the igniter and or the flame. Kind of blurry there, but you get the idea. It's working. Yeah, it's heating up nice now. Okay, just got to put these last two screws in here and the lid filter, and we're all set.